number one, he always says is connecting with the players. He connected with Zach Ertz. Like I don't think Zach Ertz likes Howie Roseman. I don't think he does. Now I think they're professional, but I don't think he likes him. He likes Nick Sirianni. I think Nick Sirianni's a big part of why Zach Ertz is here and healthy and happy. I really do. So you got to give the head coach credit.
I'm with you 100%. Birds 365 here on the JAKIB YouTube channel. You got John McMullen and Jody McDonald, your boys, hanging with you as the countdown is on. Mere 10 days till the kickoff of the Philadelphia Eagles 2021 season. Wow. Is that getting close, Johnny Mac? It's almost
that's getting close. I get it in the muck and I forget how close it is.
Yes, we are that close. Along those lines, and we're hoping to connect with Vinny Serrato, ex-general manager of the Washington Redskins and talk show host down in Baltimore. We've got 9 days until the kickoff, 10 days, whatever, build in the day of traffic. Bunch of practices for the Eagles between now and then. What do you think Nick Sirianni is emphasizing in these practices? You guys don't have full access like you did during the preseason, be there for the entire practice. You have limited, you go in, you catch a little of it. You don't know what they're doing when you're not there. But I'm going to ask you guys, and you do get a chance to talk to the coach, so you can ask him questions, and he'll either reveal what he is working on or keep it a national secret. What do you think the Eagles most need to do practice-wise getting ready for the Falcons next Sunday?
Practice? I'm joking. Practice a little bit more. No, that I'm being facetious. I was a little surprised.
They're getting better 1% every day, McMullen. Yeah. Are you saying they should be getting better 2%? Is that what you're getting at?
Well, no, just that they should be on the practice field a little bit longer. But, we've talked about that ad nauseum. That's what they believe in. And by the way, that's most of the league is now trending toward the way the Eagles do things, with some notable exceptions, generally very successful exceptions. But beyond that, I was a little surprised because we got Jonathan Gannon. Look, we last time we had Nick, we had to talk about the roster, so you really couldn't get into the start of the regular season or even, what you're trying to do from a scheme or X's and O's standpoint. But we did get Jonathan Gannon yesterday. We'll get Shane Steichen today and Michael Clay today. Jonathan was I was a little surprised because he said we haven't even started game planning for Atlanta. So you have some extra time, but they're treating this like a typical bye week in a regular season. And the players get the weekend off. You really game plan like you game plan any other week. You wait for the week of the game. And it seems like that's the way the Eagles are going to do it. In JG's case, I mean, he's got a long history with Arthur Smith. They're really good friends. They were on the Tennessee coaching staff together. So he kind of knows him, vice versa. So I think they have a advantage or maybe disadvantage from that standpoint, depending on who takes advantage of that knowledge of each other a little bit better. But I did think it was interesting that this young rookie coaching staff and so many new pieces to it isn't taking the extra time to focus on the Atlanta Falcons. But then when I take a step back, it's probably a good thing. You don't want to get hyper-focused. You want to work on yourself. We always talk about in football, I think X's and O's are dramatically overrated. It's about execution. My buddy Colin Thompson always throws out the phrase because, and congratulations to Colin for making the Carolina Panthers again. But, it's about the Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and O's. Every football coach says that. It's about the players. It's about the players executing the plays you're calling, not about the plays you're calling. And I think Nick Sirianni, Jonathan Gannon are both smart enough to understand that. So the focus should be on preparing your own team, and that continues. This is like an extension of training camp, and next week they'll get into regular season mode.
All right, it looks like we might not be able to get our buddy Vinny Serrato up here. Maybe a scheduling crossing of the wires. So let me ask you about Zach Ertz, who I was glad to see finally made available for you guys.
Yeah.
All
Well,
is well with the world of Zach Ertz.
he's part of the team now. Oh, there's so many interesting things happening here because Zach is as happy as he's ever been. There's been apologies. There's been bridges rebuilt. Everything's behind everybody. I know the head coach likes him because the head coach finally. Remember when Nick Sirianni got hired, it was in the assumption he wasn't going to have Zach Ertz, so he was preparing like he wasn't going to have Zach Ertz, and then all of a sudden Zach Ertz shows up for training camp, and he's like, oh, this guy's pretty good. I'm going to use him. So I think the head coach is happy. They seem to have connected really well. They talk basically every day before practice. It's obvious they get along very well. Zach has said he's never had more fun coming to work. So everything's copacetic. And oh, by the way, speaking of Vinny Serrato, scheduling court there. I tried to get Matt Lombardo on the show as well. Couldn't get Matt. He's got another appointment that he had to get to. But he reported in his column that what we were talking about, the Minnesota Vikings, when they lose Irv Smith, they called the Eagles. They called the Eagles about a tight end desperate and how he's waiting there to pounce. Who'd they ask about? Not Zach Ertz. Dallas Goedert, the Minnesota Vikings asked about. Now, I've been trying through back channels to figure, because I used to cover the Vikings. I used to be out there trying to figure out what the truth is. Believe me, I certainly believe that team reached out to the Philadelphia Eagles. My guess is Howie Roseman said, hey, give us a first-round pick. And the Vikings kind of begged off, and they traded for one of the Jets tight ends, which is Chris Herndon. And that's how that shook out. But it's interesting. Now Zach is smiling and people are calling about Dallas Goedert. Boy, things changed dramatically.
That's being part of the National Football League. Things can, in certain circumstances, change on a dime. And it doesn't mean the Eagles contemplated trading Dallas Goedert, but Minnesota may have asked about him. They ended up trading from Chris Herndon from the Jets, which I thought opened the possibility for the Jets to be a team that would be interested in Zach Ertz.
They might be calling about Dallas Goedert. Who knows?
Everybody's going to call about that because all is well with the world with our boy Zach Ertz back here in Philadelphia. And I'm a happy guy because, all summer long I kept pointing out, and Zach Ertz is still here. And Zach Ertz is still here. Even though some of the media
and
outlets...
everybody likes to take shots at the media. Feel free to take shots at us.
Because people take shots at you and I, so yeah, I can join in on it too.
And people,
Joel Embiid, down to how you report it. And John, you're very good, but some other guys are a little forceful, and my sources tell me. And when it doesn't happen, you should be called on the carpet, whether it's by fans or other media members. When you get it right, take a bow. When you get it wrong, take the slings and arrows. There were a bunch of media outlets that had Zach Ertz gone in this town. Are you suggesting I shouldn't point that out?
No, not at all. And I got, believe me, I got holes all over my body from taking arrows. It doesn't affect me. But what I'm saying is it doesn't change the fact that Zach thought he was gone. Zach wanted out. The Eagles were trying to move him, and they didn't move. Like, both things can be true. Like, Howie stuck up and said, this is a good player. I want a day 2 pick for him. He got offers for day 3 picks, and he didn't pull the trigger. Zach, at that point, before he got in here, before he started the relationship with Nick Sirianni, he wanted the heck out. I mean, everybody saw that final press conference when he basically said goodbye, which he again admitted to. So my only point is things can change. The vast majority of that reporting, and again, you have to take the individual. When you're saying some certain people are so forceful, I always try to couch things as correctly as possible. He did want out. The Eagles were expecting to move him. They didn't move him. And now he's back and he's developed this relationship with the head coach specifically. And by the way, the tight ends coach, who Nick Sirianni out of nowhere mentioned, I think this is the best tight end coach in the league, and that's Jason Michael. He used to be a coordinator with the Titans, offensive coordinator. He likes the people he's working with, and all of a sudden things change. And again, both things can be true. It wasn't not true that Zach wanted out of here, and Zach and the Eagles were looking to move Zach. And by the way, Zach essentially confirmed that by saying, "Oh, there were apologies." If there were apologies, that means there was something to apologize for,
right?
By definition.
Except that one of the things that Jack Ertz said yesterday, which is the thing that actually annoyed me and bothered me, was, "Oh, this is where I always wanted to be. This is where I wanted to retire." No, it wasn't. As you just stated.
No, he always said that, Jody. I will defend Zach. He said when he was, tearing up, as a matter of fact, and even before that, at the beginning of last season, his first where this all kicked off, he said, "I want to be here for the rest of my career. I want to retire here." I don't think that's reciprocated, essentially, and I'm paraphrasing. He said he wanted to be here. He didn't think it was being reciprocated. He didn't think the Eagles wanted him to be here. And by the way, I think he's right. So he did say from the very start he wanted to be here. Now, where it comes off the rails, at a certain point he said, "No, I don't want to be here.
Right.
I don't want to be here."
Well, once you say that, you say that.
But he never said that publicly. He's savvy enough. Look, we just went through Joel Embiid yesterday. I mean, that's just dumb. Zach is savvy enough when it comes to his brand. You think about him and his wife, Julie. I asked him about the inside out shorts because I wanted to clarify that. He said, "We're a Reebok family." That's what it was about. Julie Ertz has a Reebok contract. He's savvy. He understands, you got to placate the fan base as well. And look at how it goes over. I mean, they buy it hook, line, and sinker. I mean, God bless him. He's a great player. I'm happy for Zach for this reason. And Harold Carmichael is in the Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Harold as well. Zach Ertz is going to be the all-time leading receiver again for the Eagles.
Correct.
From a reception standpoint. Looked like it was going to be done last year easily with a typical Zach Ertz season. We know what happened. And now he's going to have an opportunity to, again, reach that sort of franchise lore, going to be in the Ring of Honor. This is one of the great players in this franchise's history.
Well, you mentioned last year, we know what happened. Well, we know what the numbers ended up being last year.
Oh, by the way, we should talk about his health as well.
That's kind of the question I was getting at. We don't know what happened. Maybe you can explain to me what happened, because his numbers, as compared to other years, were down. Take away the injuries and the time that he missed and the games he didn't play. How much of it was Zach was hurt, Zach dropped off, Carson was bad? Last year was not a good year for Zach Ertz. That's one of the reasons why he sat there on the bench at the end of the last season, because he knew the Eagles were not likely to negotiate a long-term extension with him at the numbers that he wanted. And you can't blame the Eagles because he had a down year. Now, there are a lot of contributing things to that down year. Tell us John McMullen's reasoning behind Zach Ertz not breaking the receiving record last year, when a lot of us thought he was going to do it coming into this season.
Well, at the start, I think all of those things entered into it. I mean, we all know Carson was terrible. I think Zach was very unhappy at the beginning of the season. I've talked about it a lot. It goes back to the playoff game after the 2019 season, where he played through a lacerated kidney, a broken rib. Shouldn't have played. I'm surprised the doctors allowed him to play, to be honest. But he went out there and he did it. And then the contract came up, and we know how contracts work, Jody. if you're on the final year of your deal with no guaranteed money left, generally this has happened to Brandy Graham over the years, Lane Johnson, all these, franchise cornerstone players. What you generally do is guarantee the money, maybe tack on a year, a voidable year, all the bookkeeping tricks Howie Roseman always does. The difference is he didn't do it with Zach Ertz. So Zach is like, well, why aren't you doing this for me? And that became the angst with the contract. So that started it. And I don't think Zach was there mentally. And I think he was very upset at the organization. Then as he got later, he hurt his ankle, which Lane Johnson mentioned a couple days ago as well. Turns out he had to have surgery. He was on either crutches, a walking cast, or a walking boot for 2 months in the offseason. So when everybody was talking about where are the Eagles going to trade Zach Ertz, he wasn't even healthy. He was on crutches. He was in a cast. He was in a walking boot, trying to get better. Actually, he and Julie, who also got injured at the same time, were living in Jordan Hicks's house out in Arizona, rehabbing together. Then he finally got healthy, and things started to go in a more positive direction. And by the way, I give a lot of credit to that. I mentioned it a little bit. I think you got to give Nick Sirianni a ton of credit for that, because I make fun of him at times, but I also give him the benefit of the doubt. His core values, which I don't care about, but number one, he always says is connecting with the players. He connected with Zach Ertz. Like I don't think Zach Ertz likes Howie Roseman. I don't think he does. Now I think they're professional, but I don't think he likes him. He likes Nick Sirianni. I think Nick Sirianni is a big part of why Zach Ertz is here and healthy and happy. I really do. So you got to give the head coach credit.
I'm with you 100% that Sirianni should get credit for that, because it is one of his core values, and he's pulling it off as a rookie coach, which isn't easy to do with some of the guys he has on the team that are already established stars in the National Football League, and Zach Ertz would be one of them. Let me ask you this about Zach Ertz and saying mentally focused. If part of the reason for his lesser season last year was that he wasn't completely there mentally, that he was perturbed with the organization, ticked off, call it whatever you want. I get that. I think that was a factor. How much of a factor, we can only guess. Zach knows better than anyone else. Yesterday sounded like all rainbows and lollipops, and he was in a good mood, and he was smiling all over the place, and he did, as a Reebok family, turn his shorts around. The fact that he is connected with Nick Sirianni, is he in the place where he can just go back to the level of Pro Bowl type tight end that he was? Surely he's a year older now, got through the injury he had, but all these injuries take their toll. Can Zach Ertz go back to being a top 2 or 3 tight end in the NFC type level this year, play-wise?
That's a good question. I mean, I do think they want to play Dallas Goedert a lot. I don't think that this is an indication, and you bring in the trade rumor as well. I don't think that's necessarily an indication saying we're going to go with Zach, we're not going to go with Dallas. Dallas is still obviously much younger. Now, maybe his contract situation is mucking things up a little bit, because he was one of the guys the Eagles have been working on an extension with. Well, it hasn't gotten done to this point. So, maybe they're not happy with that aspect of it. So you have to throw that curveball into the equation as well. But I do think they value Dallas Goedert as a player a lot. He's got a lot of potential. And then you start talking about Nick Sirianni's philosophy, which he's also honest about. He wants 3 receivers on the field. He's admitted that. He's admitted that on more than one occasion as his base offense. Obviously, you're going to have different. He's going to play 12. He's going to be empty set at all times. But when you do the percentages, 11 personnel is going to be number 1. That's what he wants to do. That's what most of the NFL wants to do. So that complicates matters. But The Eagles don't have the receivers to do that right now. I mean, you can't. Nick Sirianni wants to win football games. And look, maybe Jalen Reagor turns the corner. Maybe Quez Watkins turns the corner. But I got to tell you, if I'm Nick Sirianni and I'm putting my head down on the pillow at night, I'm a lot more comfortable with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert than Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins. So I'm going to find a way to get him on the field. Let's see what Nick does.
I agree with your read on it. You can have your desires, but the players and their capabilities are probably going to rule the day. I think Nick Sirianni is smart enough that and is paying close enough attention to his own practices and what's going down when he's got his team on the field. You can put the best groupings out there that have the best chance to make plays, move the football down the field, stick it into the end zone. And if that means being in 12 more than 11, he'll be in 12 more than 11. That's my belief on Nick Sirianni. We'll see how it plays out. Question for you. The season is now over. Damn, did that go fast? We haven't even started yet. Now I got the season over. And the numbers say Zach Ertz is the Eagles' leading receiver, period. Any position. He's got more catches than anybody else, including our guy, Devonta Smith, which I don't know is going to happen. This is a hypothetical for those of you watching Birds 365. This is not a Jody Mack prediction. I'm setting up a hypothetical question for John. And some of these are outrageous, and some of these are possibilities. I do believe this is a possibility that Zach Ertz, if he stays healthy, he absolutely could lead the Eagles in receptions this year. Probably not yards, but certainly receptions. And let's say he leads the Eagles in touchdown receptions too. 8, 9, maybe even 10. And he has this bounce back year off what he had last year, which isn't going to be all that hard. And he certainly outperforms statistically Dallas Goedert in, let's say, a right down the middle split of tight end snaps that the Eagles are in 12 as often as they are. He's the one tight end when they're in 3 or 4 wide receiver sets, but he and Goedert end up taking the same number of snaps. And oh, by the way, Zach Ertz puts up better numbers. How did the Eagles go forward with the tight end position?
Boy, that's difficult because, and this again is not only the Eagles, and this is, where I wish we could talk to Vinny about this as well, and we'll reschedule Vinny for later. But, Zach is 30. I believe his birthday is in November, so he'll be 31 during the season, 32 during next season. Jody, how the 30 is a dirty word in this league. They don't want to pay 30. They don't want to pay over 30 players, but they do. You've seen it and that's part of Zach's problem. You've seen it in this organization. They keep giving Jason Kelce an extra year as he continues to perform. I think it would be Brandon Graham as well. I think it would be a short-term situation like they've done with Jason Kelce and Brandon Graham and say, okay, we'll guarantee you 2022 at this particular number, and then we'll reassess in the spring if we're going to go forward. If Zach is amenable to that, yeah, I think especially if he continues to have a good relationship with Nick Sirianni. And by the way, if he leads this team in receiving, he's going to have a good relationship with Nick Sirianni. So, I think as long as he's amenable to that type of format where he's, another Jason Kelce, another Brandon Graham, you do the year and then you revisit it. I think, there's a potential.
Right. And you mentioned 30 is a dirty word in the National Football League. Kind of depends on the organization. More dirty with other organizations than some. I'll just note that Travis Kelce is 31 years old and will turn 32 in season, and the Kansas City Chiefs don't seem to be looking.
Well, that's part of the problem. That's why I brought up the Eagles have those players as well. The Eagles have the over 30 players they pay. In general, though, teams want to go and build in those sort of safety nets with shorter term. Look, all NFL contracts are essentially even, basically 2 years, and then you can get out if you really want to get out. But they want to go really short term, and they want to go really essentially 1 year, revisit it, and we'll see where we are. But yeah, everybody's got their core group they're going to pay. But once you hit 30, and Zach is a perfect example of this because Zach has performed. No, he's not Travis Kelce, but he's right under. He's the next tier, right under Kelce and Kittle, or he had been until last year.
Right.
And the Eagles were already saying, I don't know. It's a difficult league when you get older, and you have to play at the level of a Travis Kelce to be a Travis Kelce. Bottom line.
Understood. I just think he's going to have a bounce back year, major bounce back year.
You're not going to have a Travis Kelce year. Never has.
Yeah, probably not. No one has a Travis Kelce year in the National Football League.
George Kittle.
Kelce, so.
Yeah, George Kittle. That's about it.
All right, so I'll put it to you this way: Kelce to Kittle comparison, Kittle to Zach Ertz. Bigger drop off between 1 and 2, or bigger drop off between 2 and 3 in the comparison?
Well, I think Kittle's the best tight end in football.
You think he's better than Kelce?
Yeah, because he can block. He's phenomenal. He's an all-around tight end. He's like Gronk in his prime. He's that type of tight end. Now, the problem is he's gotten injured. But if George Kittle at his height, I mean, that was a tough guy. Kelce's phenomenal as a receiver, but he's a flex receiver. He's not going to help you in the other aspects of the game. Now, if you ask me who the best receiver is, yeah, it's Travis Kelce. I think he's now remember, he's a tight end in theory. 5 straight seasons, I have to look it up. 5 straight seasons over 1,000 yards, Travis Kelce. I think Zach has one in his career.
How does that declare him as a non-tight end? He catches the ball too much to be considered a tight end?
No, he's flexed out. I mean, when you look at how Kansas City lines up, again, we talk about 11 personnel. I say all this time, 12 personnel. You're going to see week 1 with Kyle Pitts. He's called a tight end. People label him a tight end. Travis Kelce's labeled a tight end, which really hurts him from a monetary standpoint. But he really plays flex receiver the vast majority of the time. So it's just a labeling system. George Kittle can line up on the edge and block defensive ends and win. And he's probably the only tight end. Maybe Gronk can still do it, but at his age, who knows? I mean, George Kittle is the film on that guy is just unbelievable. I mean, he's a dinosaur. He's an old school wide tight end that catches the football like a flex receiver. I think he's the best receiver. I think he's the best tight end in football. And if you go back to 2018, when he had, I think, he had Kelce numbers as a receiver. It wasn't even close. Last year, he was injured. He only played.
So he didn't come close to putting up Kelce.
Which that's part of the problem. When you're that physical,
yeah,
and it happened to Gronk as well. But when you have those guys at that level, you saw it with Gronkowski. I mean, look, everybody was shooting for second place when he was clicking on all cylinders.
Split out tight ends, inline tight ends. How many feet are we talking about here? I understand lined up butt to butt. Yes, you're an inline tight end.
It's not where they're. It's the blocking. It's what they offer the offense is the blocking. The old school tight ends, the Mark Bavaro types, he was always my favorite tight end. Those guys don't exist anymore. Rob Gronkowski, George Kittle, that's it. The other guys can't block. And they get in the way. They occasionally do some things. They work. They try. These guys can blow people off the football. These guys can block defensive ends. If you ever get a chance to watch one of the great edge rushers, whoever, Chandler Jones, Khalil Mack, these big Daniil Hunter, those types of players. Watch when they put tight ends on them. It's embarrassing. Not with George Kittle, not with Gronk. That's the difference. That's the difference. Kelsey can't do that. Ertz can't do that. That's the reason why the Eagles love Dallas Goedert so much, because he's more in that frame. He's a really good blocker, and they think he's got the potential to be a really good receiver. Those guys are dinosaurs.
All right, but let me ask you this. On any given play, take Goddard and Kittle that you'll call as truly blocking tight ends. How many plays do you think a coach would be acceptable of them going one-on-one against a defensive lineman in pass blocking?
A handful of times a game, not often, but it's really nice to be comfortable enough to do that, especially on the backside. If you're running a play to the other side, it's really, really nice. It's a luxury. Let's just put it that way. But it's more about the running game more than anything else, because if you got a tight end that can seal the edge, or you're ahead of the game. You see all these manipulations. Sean McVay is probably the best at this with motion, and you bring receivers and running backs, and you have coming across the formation. You want the wham block. You want all this trickery just to get one guy blocked. When you can say, okay, just go block that guy, that makes things a lot easier for a play caller, for an offensive game planner, that I don't have to worry about all the eyewash, risking, does everybody on the same page? Are we going to get pre-snap penalty, pre-snap motion, just to do the simplest thing that you can line up Dallas Goedert, George Kittle, player like that, and say, just go block the guy.
Understood, but maybe I'm more like an offensive head coach and a coach who's going to worry more about what is your production on the play at the end of the day, not breaking down the game film and giving someone a grade for the kind of block that they threw. Give me the tight end that gets yardage and touchdowns. I'm probably
but I'm the reason I get to 8 and 9 with the Philadelphia Eagles, and obviously you've gotten to the same point. Now, I don't know how you got there, but I got there because they can block people and they can rush the passer. That's why I get there. When you can't block people, you can't do anything offensively. Period. I mean, if you have a bad offensive line, if you have a bad pass protection from the running backs and when they're picking up blitzes, if you got a tight end who can't block, you got to figure out a way how to block people before you can do any of that other stuff. You got to figure out how to get people blocked. So I think that's the most important. And Howie Roseman said that again, Jody. We built up front, both sides of the football. And by the way, they're right. The Eagles are right. That's how you have to build. Then you fill in the rest of the stuff. And when you get the rest of the stuff with the ability to block, then you turn into the Kansas City Chiefs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Here's where I agree with you but disagree with you over two different points. Number one, I agree with you. Yeah, that's part of the reason why I got the Eagles at almost a 500 team coming off a 4-11-1 season. They got healthy on the offensive line. Lane Johnson is back. Brandon Brooks is back. Jordan Mailata will be better. Kelsey's still Kelsey. Isaac Seumalo's a damn good guard. Yes, that's the reason why I think the Eagles have a chance to be better. But that is also the reason why I'll take Zach Ertz over Dallas Goedert. I got 5 good offensive linemen. I don't need to have the tight end doubling down on the pass rushing defensive end because I'm going to have faith that Mailata and or Lane Johnson is going to be able to get the job done one-on-one. That's why, as a head coach, if I had the choice, I got a good combo guy. I got a guy who can help in the running game, blocking, is a guy who, whether he's tight to the line and or split out, you're bringing him back for the wham back, is going to be able to make a good block. I understand the importance of that and what it could add to your offense. But measure that against a guy who actually does get downfield, does catch the ball, does get touchdowns. Yeah, I'm going to lean toward, I'll take a chance with a little less blocking and stand behind my offensive line of 5 guys and expect them to do the job one-on-one against all the guys they're matching up against, and give me that extra added weapon down the field.
Well, I mean, it depends but you're acting like George Kittle and Dallas Goedert aren't weapons. That's the beauty of them. They are weapons. I mean, the Eagles will tell you, and one of the reasons they love Dallas Goedert, he's more athletic than Zach Ertz. He's got one of their disappointments is they haven't been able to flex him out as much as they would have liked to because they need him as a blocker so much. And it probably more so last year because of all the injuries. They needed him to help out more of the inline type of stuff. You're right. If the offensive line is doing a better job, you have more opportunity. My point is, but if you have both, and again, I go back to Rob Gronkowski being the most notable example of this. If you have both, it's better. Kittle's both. Gronkowski's both. The Eagles think Dallas Goedert can be both. It's got to be better.
You know, he's better than Ertz, but I don't think he's going to put the numbers up. I don't think he's going to produce the way that Ertz is going to produce. And
well, until he does it, it's hard to project it. But those guys have done it. The Kittles of the world and the Gronks of the world, they've done it. You've seen it. Those are the best tight. I mean, Gronk's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Kittle's way too early in his career.
Right.
But that's the best tight end of a generation. And number 2 ain't close. I'm talking about Gronk.
Last point on this, and we got to take a timeout to get to hour number 2. If you're a general manager, free agent, both are available this offseason, 1-year deal, not multi-year, not spread the money out, 1 year on the cap, same exact price tag, whatever it is, 10 million, 12 million, 14 million you had to pay for it just for this one season. Who you signing, Kelsey or Kittle?
For one season, do I have Patrick Mahomes or do I have Jimmy Garoppolo?
Doesn't matter.
Then it matters to me. If I have,
you get what I mean. Not because Kelsey has a relationship with Mahomes. I would say no. Here's who you have. You have Aaron Rodgers.
Not the relationship.
Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, and you get to choose between Kittle and Kelsey.
Health is the biggest input. But if George Kittle's healthy, he's the best tight end in football. I'm taking George Kittle. I take George Kittle with Patrick Mahomes. I'm saying I take Travis Kelce with Patrick Mahomes over George Kittle with Jimmy Garoppolo. That's what I was saying.
Right.
If it's in the vacuum, each is playing with the same quarterback, same system.
Yeah, it's Aaron Rodgers. It's not a quarterback that either one of them know. You're the Packers. You got a chance to sign either of those 2 guys. Which one you signing?
If healthy, George Kittle is the best tight end in football.
Right. I'm going to take Travis Kelce for 1 year. I'm going to try. I got a guy who can throw the football like Aaron Rodgers. Oh yeah, give me another weapon. Give me the best receiving tight end in football.
Everybody loves numbers and stats.
Oh yeah.
I want the best football player. George Kittle is the best tight end in football, as his contract tells you. That's the standard. That's now the standard because everybody knows in this league who the best tight end is. And right now it's George Kittle.
And Kelsey isn't a bad blocker. He's just not
he's
Kittle.
He's a very good player. And that people are going to take this.
No, I think Johnny Mac froze up on us. All right, we'll get that settled and worked out. We'll take a quick timeout to start hour number 2 here on Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.